All is yours as stated, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Next witness.
State calls Delilah Jazik.
Facing the Madam Clerk and put yourself here. Hold on. Place your left hand. Place your left hand. Raise your right.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give in this case be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Have a seat in the witness stand and state your full name for the record.
My name is Delilah Jazik, or maiden name is Jazik, now it's Lorenzian.
Can you spell that last one?
Yes, ma'am. It's Cirencione.
And is it okay if I just call you Agent Delilah? Because I can't really say either of your last names.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Where do you currently work?
I'm currently employed with the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, also known as SLED.
And what capacity are you employed in?
I'm a special agent assigned to the crime scene unit.
Okay. And as a special agent, what do you do?
As a special agent or as a crime scene?
But let's start with whichever one you'd like.
Okay. In crime scene, our duties are to respond to a crime scene after we get a request from a local law enforcement agency. From then, we arrive on the scene. We collect as much information as we can from our local agencies as well as any of our regional agents that may be there. We then keep the scene as pristine as we can, any evidence pristine as we can, and preserve it with documentation to include photographs, notes, measurements, and a sketch. We collect the evidence, we package it, we put it into our vehicles where it's secured, and then take it back to the SLED Forensic Services Laboratory for analysis.
And as a SLED agent, do you receive any kind of training?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of training do you receive?
Our training program is about a year long. So in that, we have required readings that we do, written examinations, practical examinations, and oral examinations in various aspects of crime scenes to include photography, latent prints, footwear and tire tread, blood pattern analysis, shooting reconstruction, and so forth. We also have external training, and the external training that I've completed is a blood pattern analysis class, a photography class, and a shooting reconstruction. At the end of all of your training, we have a cumulative or an all-encompassing exam that has to be passed, and a mock scene where we set up a fake crime scene, and you have to demonstrate your abilities to follow protocols and procedures correctly and show competency within crime scene. We also have a mock court, which shows your demonstration and ability to testify in court proceedings.
Now, I'm just going to move you along to what we're all here about. Were you involved in the processing of the Clarendon scene and as it relates to this case?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
And I'm going to ask you a little bit, how did you get to the scene?
We got to the scene. We drive separately, myself and Lieutenant Schenk, and I drove there.
And how did you know where to go?
Well, this was a particularly remote area, so I put the best address that I could into my GPS and followed Lieutenant Schenk there. Once we did get to this certain area of New Zion, I believe it was, we were escorted in by some of the local law enforcement agencies from Clarendon County.
Okay. Did you know how to get straight to Black Bottom and where this area was?
Once we were escorted, yes.
Did you know by yourself?
Absolutely not.
And so we've already heard from Agent Schenk about that, so I'm just going to move to the next. What was the next thing you did after going to Clarendon and help process that scene?
Once we were completed with the scene, once
Yes,
we were completed with the Clarendon County scene, we went to the SLED Forensic Services Laboratory, dropped off our evidence that we had at the time, and then on the way home, or by the time we got home, we received another phone call at approximately 3:01 hours or 3:01 a.m., and we responded to 600 Saluda Avenue to process a black Chevrolet Impala.
And did you photograph that Impala?
I did.
And when you say Saluda Avenue, that's the scene where he was arrested, is that correct? Or
Yes, ma'am. That's the scene where the suspect was allegedly arrested.
okay. And you processed that scene along with Agent Schenk, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And then what was the next thing that you were involved in?
I was then requested to go to 715 Bluff Road, which is the Columbia Police Department annex, or they're a facility of Columbia Police Department, and I've documented the suspect, Mr. Rowland, with photographs and collected evidence from him, which included his clothing at the time and swabs from underneath his left and right fingernails. And while I was still on scene, I swabbed one of his shoes that had suspected blood on it, the left shoe heel area.
And how do you collect the evidence under his fingernails?
I use swabs, so they come in a sterile packaging. It looks like Q-tips, but extra long. I use deionized water or sterile water on one of the Q-tips to moisten it, wet it, and then it's a very non-invasive thing. You just swab underneath the nails, and then I put it back into a small coin envelope or a packaging, and on that I write a description of what the swabs came from with my initials, the date, and the time.
And what about you said you swabbed his hands and I think you said, did you take any evidence from inside of his mouth?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Did you swab for a buckle?
And at that time, no, I did not.
Okay. So I'm going to show you. And can you go through the process of how you swabbed on the shoe?
Yes, ma'am. The left shoe, he was wearing, I believe, black Jordan size 8 men's. Collected the shoes, and then while I was still on scene, I used the same swabs, the sterile swabs out of the sterile packaging, and swabbed the general left heel area that looked like suspected blood, and placed that back in an envelope and sealed it with the date, initials, and time and location of the collection.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibits 324, 323, and 325. And ask if you recognize those.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And what are they?
State Exhibit 323 is 2 swabs of suspected blood from the left shoe, back portion of the size 8, black in color, from Nathaniel Rowland. State Exhibit 325 is 2 swabs underneath the right hand nails of Nathaniel Rowland. And State Exhibit 324 is 2 swabs from underneath the left hand nails of Nathaniel Rowland.
And how do you know that those are the swabs that you collected?
These all have my initials, my handwriting, the date, and the time collected.
This time, Your Honor, we've asked to introduce State's Exhibit 323, 324, and 325 into evidence.
You're admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. And so you stated you took these swabs yourself?
Yes, ma'am, I
What
did.
do you do after you take the swabs? What do you do with them?
After they've been packaged, I actually met with Lieutenant Shank at the Bluff Road location and gave him all of the evidence I collected by a chain of custody.
Okay. So after doing that process, what do you do?
After that process was completed, I waited for Lieutenant Shank to come back to the Bluff Road area, and we began additional processing on the black Chevrolet Impala.
And let me ask you this. Did you collect the clothing that the defendant was wearing at the time?
I did.
So I interrupted you. What was the next thing you did?
We processed the black Chevrolet Impala.
Okay. And I'm going to show you some photographs. State's Exhibits 171, 72, 73, 74, 75, 136, 77, 178, and 179. And ask if you recognize those.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And what are they? Are they items you took out of the car?
Some of them are items that were taken out of the car. Other than are just pictures of the vehicle, the Chevrolet Impala.
Do they fairly and accurately depict what you saw on the day that you took everything?
Yes, ma'am.
At this time, Your Honor, I'd ask to introduce State's Exhibit 171 through 179 into evidence.
To the previous objection, Your Honor.
They're admitted.
So if you would, you can just go through each one, and if you could show the jury and tell them what they're looking at.
State Exhibit 171 is a picture of, I believe it's the back of the packaging from a pair of vinyl gloves that was located in the front passenger compartment of the black Chevrolet Impala. State Exhibit 172 is the front packaging of the vinyl gloves that was taken out of the front passenger compartment of the Chevrolet Impala. State Exhibit 173 is a black beanie or toboggan with the wording in red, cold-blooded, that was taken out of the trunk of the Chevrolet Impala. State Exhibit 174 is a picture of the trunk of the Chevrolet Impala. State Exhibit 175 is a picture of the rear compartment floorboard of the Chevrolet Impala. This is after myself and Lieutenant Shank had taken a cutting from the floorboard just to show our damage and what was underneath. State Exhibit 176 is a black and red in color slipper or slip-on, flip-flop, whatever you want to call it, from the Chevrolet Impala. State Exhibit 177 is a picture of the rear side of the driver's seat of the Chevrolet.
And what is on that picture?
Suspected blood is observed on the seat.
And why do you say suspected blood and not blood?
As Lieutenant Shank said, we're not going to assume that it is blood until it's actually been tested on scene or somebody from the lab has tested it.
Is that your job to test it?
We can do a presumptive test while we're on scene, but I don't do any further analysis with it. State Exhibit 178 is the rear console, center console, with suspected blood on it from this Chevrolet Impala. State Exhibit 179 is one of the front headrests with suspected blood from the Chevrolet Impala.
And so at some point, are you directed to go process a duplex?
Yes, ma'am.
And where was that duplex located?
The duplex was located at 17, let me check my notes. It was 7525 Mountain Brook, Unit C. It was a 2-story brick duplex.
And do you know who lived there?
I believe it was Maria Howard.
And did you have anything that allowed you to do this search?
Yes, ma'am. We received a search warrant from the Sled Midlands region.
And so was the scene, how do you process a house that's that large? What do you do?
We process everything the same, our general duties. So we arrived at the scene. We made sure we had a search warrant before we went in and did anything. It was myself and Special Agent Dawn Claycomb. She documented the residence with digital photographs, and I documented it with notes. We then searched the residence for any items of evidentiary value, collected those items, then brought them back to SLED for forensic analysis.
And do you only take pictures of things you think are important, or do you take pictures of everything?
We make sure we document everything as we get there. As Lieutenant Shank was saying, everything is documented before it's manipulated as we see it when we arrive on the scene. And then if there is items of interest, those are documented as well, sometimes a little bit more closely. Not everything is going to be collected, but everything is documented.
And roughly how many pictures did you take of this duplex?
I cannot tell you
More
right
than
now.
100?
Absolutely, more than 100.
More than 200?
More than likely more than 200.
And I'm going to show you some photographs. I'm going to show you states 241 through 289. It is my understanding that subject to any prior objections, that the defense does not have objections to these photographs. Thank you, Your Honor. Okay, so what I want to do to make it easier, if you will just go through and describe let's start first. What if anything did you find in terms of garbage in the back of the yard?
We found garbage and items of evidentiary value in a trash can on the porch in the rear of the residence.
And when you said trash can, was it a trash can like we see in the courtroom, or was it like the kind you put all your trash in?
No, ma'am, it was a large trash can that you put all of your trash in.
So I'm going to start with State's Exhibit number 289. Can you tell the jury what this is?
That is the trash that was inside of the trash can. The trash can number is 102999010.
Okay, and you can do that one yourself. I just did a perfect job before. Can you tell the jury what this one is?
Do you want the whole stack?
Just start with just those and we'll stop.
Okay. State Exhibit 288. This is a picture of a black in color trash bag and a white in color trash bag. On top of one of the trash bags is a multicolored sheet, a bed sheet, and the trash bags at this point have not been opened.
Okay, do you eventually open those?
Yes, ma'am.
Go to the next photo.
State Exhibit 287 is a different sheet, but this one is coming out of the black trash bag. It's the similar pattern of blue and something else colored white sheet with suspected blood.
And why was that important to you?
It had suspected blood on it and it was collected. State Exhibit 286 is more close-up photographs of the suspected blood from the same sheet. State Exhibit 285 is the sheet as well. If you look on the far right side, you can also see some kind of cleaning white and suspected blood on the sheet. State's Exhibit 284 is the sheet with suspected blood and a close-up photograph of that same cleaning wipe. State Exhibit 283 is the black trash bag with a yellow in color plastic grocery bag and a white in color plastic grocery bag. And there is another sheet located inside with suspected blood.
And all of this is outside in the garbage can?
All of this is outside in the garbage can. State Exhibit 282 is the white in color grocery bag, and inside of it is the sheet with suspected blood and some kind of clean wipe. State Exhibit 281 is a yellow grocery bag with some kind of towel with suspected blood inside. State Exhibit 280 is a white and plastic grocery bag, and inside is black or blue vinyl gloves, and paper towels with suspected blood. State Exhibit 279 is the same trash bag with a close-up photograph of the blue gloves and cleaning supplies.
And this is still all outside?
Yes, ma'am, this is still outside. State Exhibit 278 is a photograph inside of the trash can as we were pulling other bags out. This was more towards the bottom. Another white grocery bag, and inside of the grocery bag, you can see a khaki type of clothing. State Exhibit 277 is a close-up photograph of the white bag with the khaki clothing and some suspected blood on the white grocery bag.
And while you're going through photos, I know, do you collect the bags? What do you do with the bags and all the items that we have these photographs of?
There were certain bags that we did pull items out of, which I'm about to get to, but the bags that had a large amount of items inside of them, or more than one sheet and towel or whatever it may have been, we left them as is and did not go through them so that we didn't contaminate the evidence or destroy any potential evidence that was inside. We wanted to leave it as is and have it processed at the SLED Forensic Services laboratory in better conditions.
So do you leave it at the scene or do you take it with you?
All of it was collected.
Go on to the next photograph, please.
State Exhibit 276 is a white and color grocery bag with a khaki colored clothing item inside, a black and colored glove, and a multi-tool. State Exhibit 275 is the same bag with a close-up photograph of the khaki clothing, the black and colored glove, and the multi-tool. State Exhibit 274 is yet another photograph of a close-up of the khaki clothing, the multi-tool, and the black glove from the white grocery bag.
Is it fair to say, you just said yet another, that you all take, how many different angles do you take of the same thing?
Many. State Exhibit 273 is a picture of the left-hand glove, which was black in color, out of the grocery bag, and we observed discoloration on the glove. State Exhibit 272 is another close-up photograph of the black and colored glove with discoloration. State Exhibit 271 is a empty duct tape roll with suspected blood on it that came out of the white and color grocery bag. State Exhibit 270 is a photograph of the multi-tool that was inside of the white grocery bag.
And what else was in the bag with that tool?
The duct tape roll with blood, the khaki pants, and the black glove. State Exhibit 269 is a close-up photograph of the multi-tool with suspected blood and suspected hair.
And did you collect this knife?
Yes, ma'am, I collected the knife.
How do you collect it?
We document it with digital photographs. We make sure we're always wearing gloves, as Lieutenant Shank was saying. We switch out gloves, and we collected it in a knife box that was sealed, and the description of the item, the date, and the time was written in my initials.
Go on to the next photograph.
State Exhibit 268 is another close-up photograph of the multi-tool with the blades out and suspected blood.
And I believe you said khaki pants. Was it pants or a shirt?
Khaki shirt, I apologize.
That's okay. Go on to the next one.
State Exhibit 267 is another close-up photograph of the multi-tool with suspected blood. State Exhibit 266 is the khaki shirt with suspected blood.
And where is the blood on the shirt? Is it at the top, at the bottom? Do you remember?
It's on the right-hand sleeve and towards the bottom of the shirt. State Exhibit 265 is another photo of the khaki shirt with suspected blood towards the bottom of the shirt. State Exhibit 264 is a photograph of the khaki button-down shirt with suspected blood. State Exhibit 263 is a photo of the trash can and a white and color grocery bag. It's tied at this point. We then untied the grocery bag, and State Exhibit 262 is a photograph of black and color clothing inside of the bag.
Is it black or dark gray?
It's a dark color. Sometimes when we use our flash, it's a bright light and may miscolor an item. It could be a black or dark gray or a navy. State Exhibit 261 is a photograph of dark colored pants that came out of the white color grocery bag from the trash can.
You mentioned a flash. So what time of day is it when you're taking these pictures?
We actually arrived here. It was nighttime.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Was it daytime or nighttime?
Yes, ma'am. It was nighttime, and it was beyond 9:30 p.m.
So did you take the photographs outside without a flash?
I don't recall taking them without a flash, but we took them with flash. State Exhibit 260 is a picture of the dark and colored pants. State Exhibit 259 is a photograph of the pants. State Exhibit 258 is a photograph of the pants, and it zoomed in on some defects or some kind of wear and tear in the pants. State Exhibit 257 is another photograph of the pants. On the upper right front pocket, you can see another small defect on the pants. State Exhibit 256 is a dark and colored hoodie, Nike, Just Do It. State Exhibit 255 is the back of the gray or the dark color hoodie that we just saw.
And is all of this still collected outside or are y'all inside?
This is all still being collected from outside in the trash can in a grocery bag. State Exhibit 254 is another grocery bag that came out of the trash can, and you can see cleaning supplies inside. State Exhibit 253 is a close-up photograph of the white and colored grocery bag with a cleaning product inside. State Exhibit 252 is the cleaning product, Top Job, that came out of the grocery bag.
And to be clear, this is at Maria Howard's home, correct?
This is at Maria Howard's home.
Or I should say in the backyard.
In the backyard, yes. This is all out of the same trash can. State Exhibit 251 is a photograph of the Top Job cleaning product. State Exhibit 250 is 2 receipts that were pulled out of the trash can.
And where are the receipts from?
The receipts are from Palmetto citizens dated March 29th, 2019 at 5:43 p.m. or 17:43.
They're bank receipts?
They look like bank receipts. State Exhibit 249 is another photo of the bank receipt, just divided up. State Exhibit 248 is once again a photo of the bank receipt divided up on its own. State Exhibit 247 is a picture of some Wendy's trash in a Wendy's bag and part of a sandwich of some sort. State Exhibit 246 is black trash bags that were located on the rear porch area of Maria Howard's home. State Exhibit 245 is a photograph of that rear entry door that's leading to the back porch with the same trash bags. State Exhibit 244 is a picture from the backyard. If facing towards the residence, Unit C is located to your left.
Sort of where your hand is? Or was?
Where I'm pointing is going to be Unit C.
And can you access the backyard without going through the house?
Yes, ma'am, you can. State Exhibit 243 is a picture of the backyard of the residence with a tire impression or some form of vehicle that had come through. State Exhibit 242 is a more close-up photograph of a tire impression that was in the backyard of the residence in the grassy area. State Exhibit 241 is a close-up photograph of that tire impression in the backyard grassy area.
And to be clear, were these all the photos you took?
No, ma'am.
I'm going to show you what's been marked. I'm going to show you what's been marked. The State's Exhibit 292. Do you have gloves or?
I've got gloves.
Show you what's been marked as State's 292 and ask if you recognize it.
Do you want me to open it?
Well, first of all, do you recognize it?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
What is it?
It's one black glove with suspected blood from the white plastic Family Dollar bag
And how do you know that that's what it is?
because I collected that glove.
This time I'd ask to introduce State's Exhibit number 292 into evidence.
And that item was retrieved from where?
Sir?
This was,
Uh,
she already went
To
over.
the
it.
witness.
He asked, where did you retrieve this?
If the left-hand glove or the
Where
right-hand
did
glove.
you retrieve it from?
The right-hand glove was from that's the left-hand glove or the right-hand glove? It's from the white plastic Family Dollar bag, which was in the trash can in the backyard of the residence.
And there's an objection as to that.
No, just previous objections.
Objection's overruled.
So injured, is it injured, Your Honor? I'm sorry.
Yes.
You can go ahead and open it then. You have a signature.
Yes, ma'am. This is one left-hand glove with discoloration that was out of one of the trash bags in the trash can in the backyard of the residence.
And is that the same glove that you photographed, that you showed in the photograph previously?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
I'll show you what's been marked. State Exhibit 296. And ask if you recognize that.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And what is that?
It's one white and blue in color bed sheet with suspected blood from the black and colored trash bag from the trash can in the backyard from Maria Howard's residence.
And how do you know that's what it is?
It's got my initials on it, the date, and the label and the time.
This time, Your Honor, we'd ask to introduce State's Exhibit number 296 into evidence. Help you out a little bit. If you need to stand up, you may. Can you take it out and show it to the jury, please?
Yes, ma'am. Again, this is the white and blue sheet from the trash bag in the trash can. You can see the suspected blood on it right here. And it appears inside is also a piece of some kind of napkin or a cleaning device with suspected blood.
If it's easier, you can just try to put it all back in here.
Thank you.
Jury was marked 318, 319, and 320. And ask if you recognize these items.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And how do you, what are the items?
This is one of the white and color grocery
Not showing
bags.
jury the 9 yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. A white and color grocery bag with a duct tape roll with suspected blood on it. Another grocery bag, white plastic grocery bag, and a black grocery or trash bag.
How do you know that that's what they are?
They all have my initials and date and the time on them and a description.
This time, Your Honor, we'd ask to introduce State's Exhibit 318, 319, and 320 into evidence.
Liz foundation's been laid, Your Honor.
Objection, it's the foundation.
I'm sorry, I did not hear you.
The objection was insufficient foundation.
Where did you find those items?
All of these items were found in the trash can in the back of Maria Howard's residence.
And did you collect those at the time?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And what did you do with them after you collected them?
They were secured in my vehicle and they were taken to the SLED Forensic Services Laboratory and chained over to Lieutenant Schenk, where he then submitted them for analysis.
This time, Your Honor, I'd ask and introduce State's Exhibit 318, 319, and 320.
The objection.
Over previous objection.
They are admitted.
You may go ahead and open them.
State Exhibit 320 is the paper bag in which I collected the items, and this is just the white grocery bag that the items were inside of. You can see through the bag. Do you?
That's fine.
Okay. State Exhibit 318 is a white plastic grocery bag and a empty roll of duct tape. It's discolored now because it's been processed, but it had suspected blood on it. State Exhibit 319 is, again, the paper bag in which I collected the item, and a black and colored grocery bag. And a yellow and colored grocery bag. I'll open this one. The yellow and colored Dollar General grocery bag. A black and colored trash bag. And a white and color IGA grocery bag. And all of these have been discolored because they've been processed by our forensic scientists.
I'm going to show you what the mark is State Exhibit 298 and ask if you recognize this.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And what is that?
This is another grocery bag that was taken out of the trash can at Maria Howard's residence.
And where did you collect that from? I think you just said.
The trash can.
And what did you do with it after you collected it?
It was all secured in my vehicle and taken to the Forensic Services Laboratory and then chained over to Lieutenant Schenk by a chain of custody form.
And how do you know that that's what it is?
It has the description of where it is, what it is, my initials, the date, and the time.
This time I'd ask to introduce State's Exhibit 298 to evidence. Foundation objection, Your Honor.
A foundation objection, she says.
Where did you collect it from?
This was collected from the trash can in the backyard residence of Maria Howard.
Where did you take it after you collected it?
I took it to the SLED Forensic Services Laboratory to chain over to Lieutenant Schenk for forensic processing.
How was it packaged when you packaged it? How did you package it to take it to SLED?
I packaged it in this brown paper bag and I sealed it and secured it in my vehicle when it was transported.
This time, Your Honor, I'd ask to introduce State's Exhibit 298 to
Any
evidence.
objection?
Over previous objection.
It's admitted.
You may go ahead and open it.
This is a paper bag, the original packaging in which I collected. And this is a white Family Dollar grocery bag.
And it's got some, what's the stuff that's on the outside of the bag?
Again, it's just discolored from forensic processing, more than likely by our latent print department.
It's not something you did.
It's not something that I did.
Before I go over these next items, the clothing that you looked at, that we already looked at in the photographs, did you collect that clothing?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And how do you collect it?
The clothing?
Yes.
The clothing is documented with photographs, and it's then collected and placed into a paper bag that's sealed with my initials, the item description written on it, the date and the time. And then it's secured in my vehicle and transported to the SLED Forensic Services Laboratory.
And you said it was sealed?
Yes, ma'am.
How is it sealed?
I put SLED evidence tape, or the yellow tape that you are seeing, and sealed it from one end to the other so nobody else could get into it.
All right, so. I'm gonna open this, but I don't want you to show it to the jury.
Yes, ma'am.
If you will open that for me, do not show it to anyone. What is it?
This is a khaki shirt with suspected blood that was taken out of the trash can.
And where did you locate that khaki shirt?
Inside a grocery bag, inside of the trash can at Maria Howard's residence.
And I believe you said this, but how did you collect it?
We documented it with digital photographs, placed it into a brown paper bag, sealed it, wrote the description of the item, the date and the time, and my initials, and then secured it into my SLED vehicle and transported it to the SLED Forensic Services Laboratory.
At this time, you're not asked to introduce State's Exhibit 327 into evidence.
Objection, foundation.
Objection as to foundation.
We'll go over this again. Where did you collect it from?
Collected it from the trash can in the backyard of Maria Howard's residence at Mountain Brook.
And where did you put it after you collected it?
I placed it into a paper bag with my initials, the date, the time, and into my secured SLED vehicle and transported it to the SLED Forensic Services Laboratory.
And how do you know that that is what you recovered?
Because I have written on the packaging, and I took photos of it, and I saw it, and I collected it on scene.
Has it been changed in any way other than being tested?
Not that I can see.
This time, you're not asked to introduce State's Exhibit 327 into evidence.
It's admitted over objection.
Okay, now you can show it to the jury.
This is a Dickies brand khaki shirt, a button down that was collected out of the trash can with suspected blood.
And there are cuttings on the bottom of that. Did you do that, or is that how you found it?
No, ma'am, I did not take any cuttings from it.
Once you have this item, what is done with it? You said it's submitted to SLED. Is it done for other testing?
Lieutenant Shank would have been the one to submit these items for testing. So more than likely he submitted it for forensic analysis.
State's Exhibit 329.
Would you like for me to open it?
Yes, don't show it to anyone. What is that?
It's a pair of dark colored pants and a dark colored hoodie.
And where did you collect those items from?
These were collected from a grocery bag that was in a trash can in the backyard of Maria Howard's residence.
And where did you put those after you collected them?
They were placed into a paper bag. They were labeled with the item description, the date, my initials, the time, and they were secured in my sled vehicle and transported to the Sled Forensic Services Laboratory.
And how do you know that those are the same items that you collected that night or that day?
These were documented with digital photographs, and I placed eyes on them, and I'm the one that collected them.
This time, Your Honor, I'd ask to introduce State's Exhibit 329 into evidence. So, previous objection.
It's admitted.
Now you can show it to us.
This is one pair of Russell brand size medium 32 to 34 pair of pants.
Are those the same pants that were in the photograph we looked at earlier?
These are the same pants in the photograph that we saw earlier. And you can see the small defect in the right side pocket area. Picture may be a little bit better than seeing it now. This is a dark colored hoodie, Nike brand. That was collected from one of the grocery bags in the trash can at Maria Howard's residence.
State 322 and ask if you recognize that.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And what is that?
It's one roll of toilet paper from inside the trash can with suspected blood from the backyard of Maria Howard's residence.
And who collected that?
I collected this.
And what did you do after you collected it?
I placed it into a paper bag. I put the description of the item on the bag, my initials, the date, and the time that it was collected, secured it in my sled vehicle, and then transported it to the Sled Forensic Services Laboratory.
And how do you know that that is the same thing that you collected from the trash can?
Because I was there, I documented it, I collected it, and the item description is on the bag with my initials and the date.
And what is it again?
It is a roll of toilet paper with suspected blood.
At this time, we'd ask to introduce State's Exhibit number 322 into evidence.
It's admitted.
You know. did you find that again?
That was from a grocery bag in the trash can at Maria Howard's residence.
And again, is it in the inside of her house or the back door?
It is in the backyard.
State's Exhibit 328. Look at those items, don't show them to me. And tell me what they are. What are those?
This is another part of a multicolored sheet with suspected blood and what appear to be cleaning wipes and a towel with suspected blood.
And where did you collect those from?
All these items were collected from inside of the trash can in the backyard residence of Maria Howard.
And what did you do when you collected those?
These were packaged into brown envelopes with my date, initials, the time, and an item description written on them. They were secured in my SLED vehicle and transported to the SLED Forensic Services Laboratory.
And how do you know those are the same items that you collected?
I was on scene, I collected the items, and I documented them.
This time, Your Honor, I'd ask to introduce State's Exhibit 328 into evidence. You may go ahead.
This is one of the towels that was collected from inside the trash can with suspected blood. This is part of a sheet or a pillowcase with suspected blood that came out of the trash can. paper towel roll that came out of the trash can as well with suspected blood. And there is miscellaneous and numerous cleaning wipes with suspected blood.
And these were all located where?
These were all from a grocery bag that was inside of the trash can and the residence, in the backyard residence of Maria Howard. And then just other items of trash.
I'm gonna show you what's been marked as states 295. Show you what's been marked as states exhibit 295 and ask if you recognize that.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And what is that?
This is a multi-tool that was collected from one of the grocery bags in the trash can in the backyard residence of Maria Howard at Mountain Brook.
And what did you do with it once you collected it?
I collected it. I wrote the time, initials, and date on the packaging and secured it in my sled vehicle and transported it to the Sled Forensic Services Laboratory.
And how do you know that's what you collected?
Because I was on scene, I documented it and I collected it.
This time we'd ask to introduce states exhibit number 296 into, oh, excuse me, 295 into evidence. You may open it.
This is a multi-tool that we found in the grocery bag in the trash can in the backyard residence of Maria Howard at Mountain Brook.
And can it be opened?
I'm not sure how to open it.
I'm not asking you to.
Okay, it can be opened, but I will not open it for you guys.
And where did you find that again?
It was in a grocery bag in the trash can at Mountain Brook of Maria Howard's residence in the backyard.
And I believe you said this, but what, if anything, did you see on the knife when you collected it?
Suspected blood was seen on the knife when we collected it, as well as suspected hair.
Your Honor, states exhibit number 228 through 240. My understanding that the defense over the previous objection is okay with this.
That's correct.
Yes, Your Honor. No objection to these outside of their previous objection. All right, so I'm gonna ask you to show the jury stakes 228 and 240, and just tell them what's in each one of them. And let me start. We're doing off the outside of the house. Did you go into the house and take photographs?
Yes, we went inside the house and took overall, and we took photographs.
And can you talk to the jury about these photographs then?
Yes, ma'am. State Exhibit 228 is a photo of the front door looking at it from the living room, and to the right here, you'll see the staircase that leads up to the second floor. State Exhibit 229 is a photograph of the staircase that leads to the second floor, bedrooms and a bathroom. State Exhibit 230 is a picture of, as soon as you walk up the stairs, the very first bedroom that has a mattress laying on the floor is a photograph of the mattress and a gray color pillowcase and comforter. State Exhibit 231 is a closer photograph of the gray and color pillowcase with suspected blood on the pillowcase. State Exhibit 232 is a close-up photograph of suspected blood on the gray pillowcase. State Exhibit 233 is a photograph standing on the back porch of the residence of Unit C at Mountain Brook, looking in towards this door would lead to a kitchen, which is the rear door. State Exhibit 234 is a photograph of a closet door and closet that was located underneath the stairwell, the staircase on the first floor.
And what, if anything, did you find in that closet?
In this closet, we found a pair of, look like children's pink Adidas shoes, and on the sole of one of the shoes was suspected blood. State Exhibit 235 is a picture inside of the closet, which was underneath the stairs, and the pink in color Adidas shoes. State Exhibit 236 is a closer photograph of the right pink Adidas shoe with suspected blood. State Exhibit 237.
And before, well, you can show it, but where did you locate that white basket?
The white basket that you're seeing a photograph of is in the bedroom that you just saw the gray pillowcase in, the first bedroom as soon as you walk up the stairs, in a closet. And the black and colored glove you're seeing was from the white laundry basket in the closet. State Exhibit 238 is the right-hand glove, black glove, from the white laundry basket in the closet of the bedroom. State Exhibit 239 is the black glove. It was inside out when we found it, and it had suspected hair on it. State Exhibit 240 is another photograph of the black glove from the white laundry basket.
Did you collect any of those items you just showed us a photo of?
Yes, ma'am. We collected the pink shoes with the suspected blood that was underneath the staircase closet, and we collected the gray pillowcase from the bedroom with suspected blood. We also collected the black glove, the right-hand glove from the white laundry basket that had hair on it.
And there's not a photograph of it, but did you find anything related to marijuana in the home?
Yes, ma'am. In the same bedroom we've been talking about, in the closet at the top shelf was a metallic and clear type bag with a edible item inside of it, like a Rice Krispie treat looking item that we believe was suspected drugs.
I'm gonna start with State's Exhibit 294. What is State's number 294?
One pair of pink and color Adidas size 9K shoes with suspected blood from the closet underneath the stairs at Maria Howard's residence.
And what did you do when you collected it? How did you collect it?
We took photographs of the shoes. We placed it into a brown paper bag, as you see. I labeled it with the item description, the date, the time, and my initials, and then secured it into my sled vehicle and transported it to the Sled Forensic Services Laboratory.
How do you know that that's the item that you collected?
Because of the label, my initials, the date, the time, and I was on scene and I collected it myself.
This time I'd ask to introduce State's Exhibit 294 into evidence.
Yes, please. This is a pair of the pink Adidas child shoes with suspected blood on the sole.
State's Exhibit 291. Ask you to recognize it.
You do?
What is it?
It is one right hand black and colored glove with suspected hair from a white colored basket from the closet in Maria Howard's residence.
How did you collect that?
I documented it with digital photographs, or Special Agent Claycomb documented it with digital photographs, placed it into a brown paper bag that you see, labeled it with the item description, the date, the time, and my initials.
And where did you take it?
And then secured it in my sled vehicle and transported it to the Sled Forensic Services Laboratory.
How do you know that's the item you collected?
It's got my initials, the date and time, and I was on scene and I collected this item.
I would ask at this time to introduce State's Exhibit 291 into evidence.
This is the black right hand glove that was out of the white laundry basket in the upstairs bedroom closet.
show you. Takes exhibits 290 and 293 and ask if you recognize these. Just say which one first.
This is the gray and color pillowcase from the right side of the bed in Maria Howard's residence.
And that's 293.
And that is 293.
And what's 291?
And state exhibit 290
Excuse me, 290.
is one silver and clear plastic bag containing a food edible, suspected drugs or THC.
And where did you collect those two items?
The gray and color pillowcase was collected from the right side of the bed in the upstairs bedroom of Maria Howard's residence. And the suspected drugs were collected from the closet shelf in the same bedroom at Maria Howard's residence.
How did you collect those items?
Each item was collected separately and placed into a paper bag with the item description, the date, my initials, and the time it was collected. And then it was secured in my sled vehicle and transported to the Sled Forensic Services Laboratory.
And how do you know those were the same items that you collected?
It's got the item description on there. It's got my initials and my date, the date and time, and I was on scene and I collected these items.
This time, Your Honor, I'd ask you to introduce State's Exhibit 290 and 293 into evidence.
Which is which?
293 is the pillowcase, 290 is the edible product.
Which says the,
Over previous objection.
290 will be for identification only at this time.
You know that.
Whether 293 is admitted.
This is the pillowcase from the right side of the bed closest to the door with suspected blood that was collected at Maria Howard's residence.
Earlier you stated that you did go to the police station on Bluff Road and document and see the defendant. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
And at that time, did you take photographs of anything of him? Rather, let me just be specific. Did you take photographs of the defendant?
I did.
And what, if anything, did you do with his clothing?
All of his clothing was collected, placed into paper bags, and the description of the item, the date, the time, and the initials were placed on the bag, and I secured the items in my truck. And I met with Lieutenant Shank, and things were transferred to him via chain of custody.
I'll just start with State's Exhibit 300. Ask if you recognize this.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And what is that item?
It's one pair of black and colored Jordan size 8 shoes from Nathaniel Rowland.
If we could, we're just going to lay them down so I can get them all in the same.
Okay.
can you tell, what is 301?
State Exhibit 301 is one pair of black and color socks with suspected blood from Nathaniel Rowland.
316?
316 is one pair of gray and color Puma sweatpants from Nathaniel Rowland.
And 317?
317 is one gray and color Puma hoodie from Nathaniel Rowland.
And how did you collect these items?
All of these items were collected from Nathaniel Rowland. They were placed into an individual paper bag with the item description, the date, the initials, and the time they were collected.
And where did you take them after you collected them?
These were taken to the SLED Forensic Services Laboratory and chained over to Lieutenant Schenk via a chain of custody form.
And how do you know those are the items that you collected?
I collected these items from Nathaniel Rowland, and these are my initials and my descriptions and my handwriting on these bags.
At this time, Your Honor, I'd ask to introduce State's Exhibit 300, 301, 316, and 317 into evidence.
Each are admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Start with 300 and show them.
State Exhibit 300 is one pair of black and color Jordan size 8 shoes from Nathaniel Rowland.
And those are what he was wearing when he was taken into custody, is that correct?
These are what he was wearing when I saw him at Bluff Road at Columbia Police Department.
What is 301?
State Exhibit 301 is one pair of black and color socks with suspected blood from Nathaniel Rowland.
And again, these are what he was wearing when?
These are what he was wearing when I collected it from him at Bluff Road of the Columbia Police Department. State Exhibit 316 is one pair of gray and color Puma sweatpants from Nathaniel Rowland. These are the gray sweatpants collected from Nathaniel Rowland at Bluff Road. State Exhibit 317 is one gray and color Puma hoodie from Nathaniel Rowland. And this is the gray Puma hoodie collected off of Nathaniel Rowland.
The last time you met with Mr. Rowland,
No, ma'am, it was not.
when was the next time you dealt with him?
On April 2nd. On April 2nd, 2019, myself and Lieutenant Shank went back to Bluff Road to the Columbia Police Department for a meeting. It was then I was advised that a search warrant had been obtained by the SLED Midlands region for Nathaniel Rowland's buccal swab.
And how do you take a buccal swab in general?
A buccal swab is again, it comes out of a sterile packaging. It's like two Q-tips, just longer. And then you swab the inside of the suspect or the witness, whoever it is mouth. And those are placed back into the small coin envelope or a packaging where it's sealed with evidence tape. The item description is written with the time, the date, and my initials.
Were you able to do that with Mr. Rowland?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State Exhibit 326 and ask if you recognize it.
I do.
And what is that?
This is 2 buccal swabs from Nathaniel Rowland.
And what did you do with them after you obtained them from Mr. Rowland?
These were provided to Lieutenant Shank via a chain of custody form.
And how do you know that that's what you collected from the defendant?
This has my item description, my initials, and the date and the time.
This time, Your Honor, we'd ask to introduce State's Exhibit number 326 into evidence.
326 is admitted.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Cross-examination. As she prepares to come, let's stand for a moment, everyone. Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court.
Yes.
Good afternoon. How are you? Good. All right. So just going to go back a little bit, set out a timeline here. Okay. So you were with Lieutenant Shank on March 29th in Clarendon County.
That's correct.
Your job basically take pictures.
Yes, ma'am.
Say basically, I don't mean it that way. You're tasked with documenting with pictures,
Yes.
and he's tasked with documenting the scene with notes.
Yes.
And you're wearing gloves,
Yes, ma'am.
protective gear, right?
Correct.
Because the purpose of that is to not contaminate anything that could be there, right?
That's right.
Manipulate any evidence
Right.
and collect things as they are and take those back to the laboratory at SLED.
Correct.
And you're there for several hours,
Yes, ma'am. Approximately 6 hours.
about 6 hours. And when you start out, it's still light.
It is.
And then by the time you leave, it's completely dark.
It is. It's past midnight.
It's past midnight. And there are no street lights.
No, not in the location we were.
It's a dirt road,
It is.
wooded area.
Yes,
Leave there, and you end up on Saluda Avenue in Columbia.
correct,
And again, you're tasked with taking pictures,
correct,
and Lieutenant Schenk is tasked with documenting with notes.
correct.
And again, at that time, it's not, you're documenting the car as it is at that moment on Saluda Avenue.
Yes,
It eventually gets towed back to the CPD building on Bluff Road,
yes, on Bluff Road.
and it's secured in their facility there.
Yes,
Right. While Lieutenant Schenk and yourself are at the scene on Saluda Avenue, you get called away.
I do.
And that's for you to go to that building, that Columbia Police Department building. right?
Yes,
And that's about almost 6 o'clock in the morning.
I cleared 600 Toledo Avenue at approximately 5:40 a.m. and I arrived at 715 Bluff Road at 5:47 a.m.
And the reason you go to Columbia Police Department at that time is to photograph Mr. Rowland.
It is.
And you do take photographs of Mr. Rowland.
I do.
We don't see any of those today.
I did not see them today.
You took pictures of his face. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
And this was March 30th of 2019,
Correct.
right? So the early morning hours of March 30th.
Yes.
And at that time, Mr. Rowland had facial hair,
He did.
and his hair is a little longer than it is today.
It is.
So you took pictures of his face, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you took pictures of his arms,
I did.
lifting up each sleeve,
Yes.
right? And taking a picture of the top of his arm,
Yes.
taking a picture of the bottom of his arm.
Yes.
You take a picture of the other arm,
Correct.
repeat the same process.
That's right.
You take a picture of the front of his arm, right?
Yes.
And a picture of the bottom of his arm.
Yes.
You go on to take pictures of his hands.
I do.
Lay it out on the table like this.
That's right.
You take pictures of the top of his hands. right?
Yes,
And you flip over and take pictures of the bottom of his hands.
I do.
And you take pictures basically of him from top to bottom.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And you tell him at that time you don't see anything, you're just documenting.
Correct. I'm documenting him.
And at that time, as we've heard, you collect his clothing, right?
Yes, I do.
And swab his fingernails
I do.
and take the swab from his shoe.
Yes.
And that's just I think you said was it two swabs of his shoe? That's right, 2 swabs from his shoe
It's 2 swabs
of that one area,
of the
On the shoe.
left shoe heel area.
on the left shoe heel area. You end up, this is still at Columbia Police Department. You finish up with Mr. Rowland. You're still at the police department.
I am.
You end up going down to where the vehicle has been secured,
Yes, I do.
this Impala.
Correct.
And Lieutenant Schenk, he's there too.
He is.
And you both begin further processing that car.
Correct.
And by further processing, I mean more pictures, more swabs, collecting items.
That's right.
Okay. And at this point, the car keys had been collected.
To my knowledge, yes.
And to our knowledge, no swabs of the car keys had been taken.
Not to my knowledge.
You also, as I said, you documented further the car by taking pictures. That was your job that night.
It is.
Well, early morning hours.
Yes.
That was your job, to take pictures. And you took pictures of the windows of the car.
That's right.
The prints that were on the window.
Mhm.
And if there was blood on the windows, you would have taken pictures of the suspected blood.
Yes,
on
if
the
there was
windows.
suspected blood, I would have taken a photo of it.
And you collect several items from the vehicle, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You don't collect an earring.
Not from the vehicle,
Not from the vehicle. You don't collect an ATM card,
not to my knowledge,
and you don't collect a purse.
not to my knowledge.
And all while you're processing this car, even just taking the pictures, you're gloved. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
When you take the swabs from the vehicle, that's what you did. You document, or I'm sorry, you wear your gloves, right?
Right. I did not take the swabs from the vehicle. Lieutenant Shank did, but in general purposes, yes, I'm
Every-
always wearing gloves.
Always wearing gloves if
Yes,
you're dealing
ma'am.
with a crime scene. And I want to talk about, it's a couple of days later. This was March 30th at Columbia Police Department when you're working with Lieutenant Shank to process the vehicle.
Mhm.
On April 3rd, so 5 days later, is when we end up at Maria Howard's house. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am, it is April 3rd.
And there you don't take any swabs either, right?
No, ma'am, I took no swabs at
Just-
Mountain Brook.
Right, just collecting the items as they are at her house.
Yes,
And that gets taken back to the SLED lab for analysis.
yes, ma'am. Everything got taken back to the SLED Forensic Services Laboratory, and then it was all chained over to Lieutenant Shank, who then submitted it for analysis.
And you don't do the analysis.
No, I do not do the analysis. I collect it and I submit it, or I chained it over to Lieutenant Shank, who then submitted it for analysis. And then we just write up a report of our documentation and what we did in our observations.
And this trash can, you set a number that was associated with that trash can.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that a unique code for a trash can?
I don't know if it's a unique code, but it is an identifying marker of which trash can it is. Since I believe there was more than one trash can out there, it's a duplex. So Unit C is the one that we were looking at. We didn't want to mistakenly take a trash can from a different address, and we were able to go back in the photographs and identify that specific trash can is what the grocery bags and items of evidence came out of.
So that code would be unique to the certain address, this being an apartment.
I can't testify to that. I'm not sure.
So you don't have that information,
No, I do not.
that particular trash can number is unique to that address.
No, ma'am. It's just documenting that trash can is behind the residence at Unit C of Mountain Brook.
And while we're talking about the back of the residence, you did say earlier to the jury that is an area that can be accessed by you don't have to go through the house to get back there.
No, ma'am, not to my knowledge.
And again, these items that we just went through, all of these are all items that were found at the home of Maria Howard.
Yes.
I want to talk just again about the car real quick. You were tasked with taking pictures. You took a lot of pictures.
I did.
Right. You didn't see any defects in the seats,
And not to my knowledge.
no cuts.
Nothing that I can think of right now without seeing photographs.
You would have documented that with photographs. Had you
Yes.
seen that? And Lieutenant Shank would have documented that in his notes.
Yes.
And again, at every scene, Clarendon County, Saluda Avenue, dealing with Mr. Rowland and dealing with the search warrant at Maria Howard's house, you were gloved, right?
Yes, I was.
Careful not to contaminate anything,
That's right.
and careful not to manipulate any evidence.
Correct.
You collect it as is, right?
Yes.
Package it separately,
Yes.
seal it,
Yes.
and take it to the lab
Yes.
for the analysts at the lab to begin their work.
Correct.
All right, back to the court's involved. And whenever you were taking the photographs of Mr. Rowland on March 30th, we got the time frame. It was around almost 6 o'clock in the morning. Is that right? think you said 5:47.
Yeah, I arrived at 715 Bluff Road at approximately 5:47 a.m.
5:47 a.m. Thank you. And again, I'm referring to whenever you're documenting him with pictures. Could be important, right?
Right.
But again, you don't see anything on him, right?
In what terms?
On his face, as far as scratches,
As far as scratches, no, I do not.
you don't see any marks.
I do not see any marks on his
Cuts.
face. I do not see cuts on his face.
Same thing with the arms,
Same thing.
both sides,
Correct.
and his hands, both
Yeah.
sides.
Correct.
And these photos that you took, you turned those over to the investigators in this case.
All those photos were turned over to Lieutenant Schenk.
All photos to Lieutenant Shank. Thank you very much. I have nothing further.
Any redirect?
May the court's indulged. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. You may step down. The next witness.
Right, please, court, Your Honor. State calls investigator Allison Fitzgerald.
Place your left hand here.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give in this case is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes. Thank you. Please have a seat. The witness stand and state your full name for the record.
Investigator Allison Fitzgerald
Investigator Fitzgerald, where are you employed?
with the City of Columbia Police Department.
And how long have you worked with the Columbia Police Department?
Been there almost 9 years.
And in what capacity are you employed?
I am now an investigator in the Special Victims Unit.
Briefly describe some of your day-to-day responsibilities with CPD.
Currently, I investigate domestic violence, sexual assault cases, any cases with children missing and runaways.
Investigator Fitzgerald, I want to draw your attention to late March and early April of 2019. Were you involved with an investigation into the kidnapping and murder of Samantha Josephson?
I was.
How did you become involved in that investigation?
I believe we came in on Monday after the incident had happened, and we were all assigned to help with tasks.
And let me just clarify, at that time, so late March, early April of 2019, you were also an investigator.
Correct.
So your duties and responsibilities would be the same.
Correct.
And what was the extent of your involvement in the investigation?
I was tasked with helping follow up with some search warrants, as well as follow up on some different leads that we had.
Specifically, did you go and get any search warrants in this case?
I did.
And what were those search warrants for?
I obtained a search warrant for the Capital Waste Services, which was an employment of Mr. Rowland, as well as also the FedEx, which is also another employment.
And to your knowledge, do you know specifically what those documents were related to?
I believe we were attempting to get some employment records that potentially had his applications with some handwriting on them to be compared.
The jury break for lunch at this time, resume at 2:15. Please not discuss the case. See you at 2:15.